And we are back. I'm Chris Evan, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, joined by my good friend, Dr. Michael Fabian, and surgeon as well. He's cut on me a few times.
And he's still alive.
Yeah, and I pissed him off a couple times, so I think that's why the recovery time took so long, but that's another story. So anyway, today we're going to be talking communication options. Mike and I have been working on this stuff for a couple of years with various products. Sometimes they get sent to us, sometimes we go out and buy them. But we've got a pretty good range of options for you to consider on the table here. The one thing that we don't have is shortwave high frequency, which is the only way as a private individual you're going to get around the world communications under perfect scenarios. So shortwave HF bounces off of the ionosphere, whereas all of this stuff that you're looking at here, with the exception of a couple devices, can be blocked by trees, buildings, all kinds of stuff like that. So Mike, let's jump in with the Garmin stuff because it covers the biggest range. You've got friends who have children that are out of state, and they asked that how do they communicate with them? Basically, like if everything went down, how would they communicate with them? So the Garmin InReach equipment uses the Iridium satellite network for data communications, and the InReach Mini 2, the orange one here, uses military satellites for GPS. I know a bunch of GWAT vets who had spotty service in Afghanistan with Iridium. I can tell you that only once have we been somewhere where I didn't have a signal for the Mini 2 here, and we were in the mountains and we were in a valley, and once I moved to a spot where I had a clear line of sight to the sky, it picked up no problem. So let me just explain how this works. So I've got the Garmin InReach Mini 2, and I'm going to hand Mike the Garmin InReach Messenger. Okay, so by the way, this weekend that we're shooting this, Garmin has had prices up and down for this birthday celebration. How much did you pay for these yesterday?
$249.
$249
for two of those.
Yeah, so
they're normally $399.
Yeah, these are $400 regular price. Mike got two of them, $249 each.
And then this was $199 each, but normally that runs
$300.
Yeah,
a
piece
each. Yeah, so quite a discount. But essentially, these are very similar devices. Bottom line is that you tether this to your phone. It's like a modem for your phone. So if Mike had that Messenger and I have this Mini, and we were separated by thousands of miles, and I have this tethered to my phone, and all of the ground infrastructure has gone down, this is my connection to the Iridium satellite network. Now, if Mike still has ground communications available to his phone, what's going to happen is the message from me is going to go through the Garmin InReach Mini 2. It's going to go up to the Iridium satellites. It's going to come back down to the Garmin Ops Center, and then it's going to be sent across the traditional, wire, so to speak, to get to a cell phone tower to get to Mike. Now, if all of that is down, what will happen is my text messages from this go up to the Iridium satellite network, come straight down to that messenger, which is tethered to his phone, and we still have connectivity regardless of what's going on. So we're starting with this because if you want the most foolproof way at the best cost to have communications no matter what happens down here on the ground, these are your two choices. And we don't have an affiliate relationship with these guys, by the way. Just keep an eye on Amazon. We'll have links to everything down below. And don't be surprised to see the numbers fluctuating up and down by quite a significant margin. I mean, we checked today, and these guys were back up to over 300, 304 or something, and those guys were back up to 270 or something like that instead of the regular 300. So just keep an eye on what's going on Amazon and Garmin's website to try and get the best deal on that. So moving to the next one here, this is a company called POC Link at POClink.com, and these are their new Ultra radios. So they had the POC-1, they still have it, and they've just brought out the POC-1 Ultra. And what this basically is a FRS GMRS radio, so 22 channels available over the air, but also takes a SIM card and can communicate over the LTE network, the long-term evolution network. So LTE, much lower bandwidth capacity than 5G is. Depending on a carrier's network configuration, it is possible in some circumstances where 5G goes down but LTE doesn't. The other thing I like about these, Mike, is that Mike and my wife and I and some other people are in our own little group, our SHTF group. So you can set all the radios to communicate to a particular group. And when you do the PTT, you do the push to talk on the side, it automatically goes out to everybody's radio. So it's a great way of getting mass broadcasts out really quickly. But you can have as many groups as you want. So for example, we have one for survival dispatch, but Mike will have one with his kids and family that we won't hear because we're not in the same group. These are pretty slick. There's a number of different scenarios where these may come in handy. J.J. Morris could speak to this, being a search and rescue technician, is that many times the cell towers, when they're overwhelmed, they will allocate bandwidth to first responders and they will give them priority. But LTE being kind of ancient relative to 5G and beyond, they're not shutting down the LTE side. You probably noticed that you're on 5G, all of a sudden you're on LTE in your phone. You can't download pictures and stuff like that. So these guys kind of sneak in under the radar, so to speak. They're on special right now for $399 for a pair. They're going back up to $1,140 soon. Depending on the SIM card that you choose, you would pay $29 to $65 a year. But when you buy right now on this introductory price, you get free SIM card usage for the life of the device. So you pay nothing this time around and you pay nothing next year and the following year and so on. So it's a heck of a good deal as a supplement to your communications plan. 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none, right, Mike?
As you've said multiple times. One other thing real quick, Chris, on that first responder, I have AT&T, and during the last hurricane, couldn't communicate. So, you know, if the towers go down, even though I have priority, if they're down, it doesn't matter if you're on the top of the tower or if you're on the burn phones at the bottom, you don't get anything. So,
good point. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So at the end of the day, there's a link down below. You can snag these for $399 for a pair right now, but as soon as they sell the first 1,000, again, they're going up to $1,140 for a pair. Decent battery life. We've been testing these for a little while now. Pretty happy with them, again, as an extra piece to the puzzle for our communications strategy. I feel like I'm forgetting something on the POC links.
we got out to 25 miles with vegetation and everything else, but of course it's on the cell network. But it was clear, crystal clear. So as good or better than a phone. And I think I only had 2 bars out there on my cell phone, and these were wonderful.
Yeah, it was crystal clear.
Yep.
There's a smartphone app goes with the POC, or the POC-1 Ultra. And you could actually talk through the app on your phone and it'll go out to everybody in your group. You can pick whatever group you want to send a mass broadcast out to, and they'll hear it. Oh, I know what I'm forgetting to say is, yeah, the app is really straightforward. We had absolutely zero problems getting it to work right out of the box. But what I'm forgetting to mention is that these are dual band radios, so they communicate over GMRS/FRS family radio system. So there's 22 dedicated channels. If you go to Walmart and you buy the little bubble radios that look like that, they're FRS radios. So here's an interesting part to this, though. You can put them into relay mode. So let's say you pull up to the trailhead and you know that as soon as you get whatever half a mile away from the head of the trail and you're in the woods, essentially, you lose, let's say, cellular network connectivity. You leave one in your truck, it's in relay mode, and now you could use another radio that communicates over the GMRS channels back to the one that's relaying back out to the rest of the world. And what's really cool that Mike and I tested, then I'll come back to these shortly, but this is an FRS radio that connects to Walker Razor ear pros. And I put this on the same channel as one of those, and Mike and I were able to talk back and forth over GMRS, no problem. So if one of those was in relay mode, we can basically bridge GMRS to LTE, even though this device doesn't have any cellular connectivity. So it's a slick little add-on thing that extends the range. Kind of cool. So moving on to the next thing that Mike and I tested are the business class radios over here. So that would be the Motorola gear. So you can see there's 2 Motorola mobiles, which can be used as a base station, but typically intended for mounting in your truck. And we've got a couple of handsets there as well. So let me just briefly explain what a business class is. So you pay a larger fee to the FCC. The application is a little complex for some people. So there's companies like buy2wayradios.com that will program, or pardon me, fill out the application, then program your radios for you for a small fee. So business class means that we got 5 dedicated channels, frequencies, I should say, with a 50-mile radius on them, so nobody else can use those channels. These radios from Motorola do channel hopping, so they can hop 3 channels per second. Now, to compare that to military stuff like Harris radios, they can channel flip 100 channels per second. So this is obviously nowhere near as sophisticated, but nonetheless, even if they weren't encrypted, kind of hard for somebody to hone in on a conversation when it's rotating through channels. Mike and I did a bunch of testing with them, and you know, these are like 5-watt devices and 40 watts, if memory serves me right, for the base stations. Just quick double check on that. 50 watts for the base stations or the mobiles, and the handhelds are 5 watts. So at the end of the day, we got the same type of range that we did with all the other regular radios here. Handset to handset, urban environment, 1.5 to 2 miles. We've got a lot of big oaks. This is an urban environment. And then mobile to mobile, Mike put a larger antenna on his truck, and we were able to reach out about 8-9 miles. We've got a 38-foot tower here, which we'll talk about towards the end. But at the end of the day, the range isn't really increased, right, Mike? Like, we didn't see any big increase in range, but we've got security, encrypted, and channels dedicated just to us that nobody else is on.
Yeah.
And the Motorola equipment's flawless.
And if we get a shit hit the fan situation, you got your private channel. Some of the other ones will get jammed. Everybody will be using the other channels, and you may have decreased capacity. With this, you have your own private channel, and so your group won't get locked out.
No, great point. So how many times when we were testing the GMRS stuff at the end of the table did we hear somebody else cutting in?
There was probably 2 or 3 times at least when we were doing the distance test with Cindy.
Yeah, so you're going to get that from the FRS, you know, call them bubble radios, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So anyway, at the end of the day, business class radios cannot connect to public repeaters because you have very specific frequencies that are kind of in between channels. It's encrypted. So California has this massive network of repeaters, which we're going to discuss in just a second. But if we wanted to extend the range of our business class radios, we would have to buy repeaters, have them tuned to our frequencies, encryption, et cetera, et cetera. They're pricey, and you have to have a midpoint to put them in. Again, antenna rules. At the end of the day, other than the Garmin InReach Mini and the POC Link, everything out here is very dependent on the antenna size. And even the POC Link is dependent for GMRS, FRS communications like this. But moving past the Motorola's, Mike and I did a lot of testing with GMRS, and we did a lot of testing from GMRS for a reason. It's one of those things, usually your greatest strength, your greatest weakness. We found people butting into our channels on GMRS, but no license. You don't have to have a ham radio license. Right. And it's easy to use, put it that way. You don't have a gazillion frequency. You got 22 channels.
Right.
So what we did is, you can see we had 2 mobile radios. The one in front Mike had mounted in his truck. The one behind it's mounted in that power supply, which I'll talk about towards the end. And then you can see the Ocean handsets that we had. So there's a couple black ones. They're the same.
And a green one.
And then the green one, which is a little bit more sophisticated than the others. And before I forget, let me just mention some prices here before we get through all this. The POC links, again, are on special $399 right now, but that's not going to last long. That's for 2 of them. They'll go back up to $1,140. The Garmin's, as I mentioned, the prices are all over the place right now. You could pay anywhere between $249 and $400 for the InReach Mini 2, and you could pay anywhere from $199 to $299 for the Messenger. The Motorola gear here is a little bit more, but it's not egregious. The handhelds, yeah, this one here that Mike's got, those are $443, but those are the top of the line for this class. They do digital transmission, which, by the way, the clarity is phenomenal. And then the CM300D mobile radio below it, $652, 40 watts, by the way, stand corrected on that. Now, moving over to the next stuff with Mike, the mobile radios are 50 watts. That's a KG1000G plus. $389. That's a fantastic price for what they do. We mobile to mobile, we got 10 plus miles, right? We got out
close to it.
Yeah. So without a lot of expense compared to some other solutions. And that's, again, in an urban setting. Go ahead.
And with the 40-foot antenna that you have.
That's right, yes, with this antenna. So now, though, once we get to GMRS, we can start discussing things like repeaters. So when you see a radio like this guy here, and it says on Amazon or wherever, 35-mile range, bullshit. Like, unless you live in the salt flats or you live in California where there are multiple repeaters. California has the biggest repeater network in the world. So what that means is you have this handset, and let's say you're on the east side of the mountains and there's a repeater at the top of the mountain, and you're trying to communicate to somebody on the west side of the mountains in California. It'll go up, hit a repeater, send on to another repeater, and then down to the party that you're trying to communicate with. So when you have repeaters and when you have everything's perfectly flat, like the salt flats, you could potentially get that, 35 plus miles. I actually know people who've got over 100 miles in the California repeater system with these little radios. But suffice it to say, urban environment, no repeaters, especially here in the Southeast, a mile and a half, 2 miles handset to handset, unless you have something like these guys, which give you about double the distance, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So the base station kit, so that's the power supply that Mike has his hand on, and it's from Ocean as well, but it works with any mobile radio that's the same form factor. What that is basically something you can put in your home, connect it to a larger antenna like I have, convert from DC to AC power and power the radio. It's a pretty slick solution, $219.99. That came from buy2aradios.com as well. And let's see here. So the Ocean, the Black Oceans, is the KG935G, and they're 5.5 watts. They're $149.99. I want to say you get 2 radios with that, but don't quote me on that. Maybe not. But the green one is a little bit higher, and that's the Ocean KG Q10G, is $219.99, 6 watts. Has a few extra features, a few extra bells and whistles, but here's the bottom line. The one Mike just had in his hand and the one he had in his hand before that, mile and a half, 2 miles, in an urban environment. If we're communicating from a mobile to the handset, we might get 3 or 4 miles with a tall antenna, but to get beyond that, you either have to have really high-powered radios. We managed to get about 6 miles with these ones, and I'll come back to them in just a minute because they're super high-powered for a handheld. They might melt your brain too, right?
Maybe. Brain cancer's on the rise.
And wouldn't surprise me if it was related to this type of stuff at all.
Let's talk about the budget, Ocean to the amp.
Yeah,
That's
good,
next.
Yeah, good suggestion. So there's a box here from B-Tech, which is a 40-watt amplifier. Let me just find the price. I want to say it's $154 on Amazon, if memory serves me right. Give me 2 seconds here. It is $154.89. So what you do is you connect that amplifier to your handheld radio like this, and all of a sudden we just went from 5.5 watts of power to potentially 40 watts of power, and you can hook a bigger antenna to those boosters as well. Here's the gotcha on it though, is that the pin out for the cable on the side, which is essentially plugging into where you would put your handset, are different for every manufacturer. So you have to make sure that you get a cable that works for whatever radio model you have with the pin out on the other end on the booster. But that thing was phenomenal. We were able to hook, as you can see, this radio connected to that booster with Mike on the mobile radio out front over on the far side. We were able to get upwards of 10-mile range with a taller antenna here. So again, it doesn't sound anything like what you see on the packaging, but trees,
Vegetation.
homes. We even have west of here on State Road 40, there's a slight rise. And as soon as Mike drives past that slight rise, we would need, by my calculations, because there's apps that'll tell you what's in the way, we would need a 42-foot antenna to crest it, and we're 38 feet and change. So we just can't get over that one particular hump. If we could get past that, then we could probably extend out another maybe 4 or 5 miles, I would imagine. So anyway, that wraps up all the stuff over there. However, let's talk about antennas and the radios. So I bought this Baofeng UV25 last year off of Temu, for, I want to say $29. And I saw a lot of people raving about it. And I wasn't disappointed, to be quite frank. I think that this ham radio, for the price point, what are they now, Mike? 50 something?
Yeah. 54.
Yeah, the tariffs have made the price go up.
$54.39.
$54.39 on Amazon. Again, the links will be down below. But this radio, I won't get into all the technical nitty-gritty stuff and bore you with speeds and feeds, but I'm going to turn it on.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
So we've got this SWR meter hooked up, and it takes a second to turn on here. And this will tell us the compatibility between the radio and the antenna. All right, so it's on now. So when you're looking at the measurements from something like this, normally this doesn't sit between the radio and the antenna. All this is for is to tell us how much power is coming out of the top of the radio and actually going out through the antenna. Most stock antennas need to be replaced on any handheld radio you get. They're not optimum. They're not tuned very well. So if the reading comes up at 1 to 1, and this is a 10-watt radio, you're cranking 10 watts out of the antenna here. If, on the other hand, it scores a 2, it's cutting it in half. So you have a 10-watt radio broadcasting at 5 watts out of the antenna. If it's a 3 or 4, you want to stop pressing the PTT button, the push-to-touch button right away, because that energy will end up melting the radio because it's not being dispersed from up here. I'm not as smart as Mike is, so we actually had one of these antennas hooked up, and I hit the PTT on a 50-watt radio while I was holding on to the antenna, and it shocked the shit out of me. So anyway, now that I've got this turned on, I'm going to hit the PTT button, and it usually averages right around 1.07 or so. It's at 133, 132 right now, but this is the best out-of-the-box radio as far as being compatible with a handset's concerned of all the ones that we've tested. So see if I can get it go back down again. It also will change depending on your channel as well. But suffice it to say, the Baofeng UV25, if you're on a budget, this is a really decent handheld radio. It's got a decent sized battery. Does everything that you need it to do as far as short range stuff is concerned. But not bad for the price, even with double the price of what it was before.
It's just a little bulky.
It is a little bit, yep. It's well built though. It's a solid radio. I'm not the biggest fan of Baofeng. I don't hate them, but I prefer things like Motorola's.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so this guy here is similar to this guy. So when you're measuring antenna compatibility and performance, these little guys that you can get on Amazon, I think Surecom, I think this is the box it came in. Yes, it is Surecom. They only work with analog radios, or analog stations, I should say. Whereas this guy here from buy2aradios.com will also work with digital antennas. So the very first thing we always do when we get any of these radios is we test the compatibility of the antenna to the radio, find the best one. In a lot of cases, the handsets that you see here, we don't have tunable ones for the Motorola's, but everything else does. The Nagoya 771G for GMRS performs flawlessly. But you need a more expensive device if you're getting into digital communications. You have a Nagoya on there, right?
Yes, we do.
Which one is it? Is it the G?
That's the 771G.
Yeah.
We have them on all of these, I believe.
And we picked up some pretty good range and clarity when we put those on.
Yep.
When we were doing our testing versus the stock one. And by the way, the green one over there, it has GPS built into it. So they're supposed to, the antenna's never supposed to come off. And people always send me emails saying, how did you change the antenna? There's like a tiny little blob of glue. I didn't need tools or anything. I just twisted it, came off, threw it in the garbage, put the Nagoya on, good to go. Even though you're not supposed to do that. But some sad ham out there will probably report you for changing the antenna on the radio.
You voided the warranty, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, Ocean's been pretty good equipment. We've had good luck with the Ocean stuff, for sure. If you wanted to get into radios, like, first and foremost, the Garmin InReach stuff is your best bet for having, a long range. You got family members in different cities. Everybody has a Garmin InReach type device. No matter what happens on the ground here, you should still be able to communicate as long as the Iridium satellites are up. The POC link I've already covered, but they're unique. They're pretty decent. But if I had to go out and buy radios on the cheap, I would go for the Ocean GMRS stuff myself.
This.
Yeah,
And maybe with the amp.
maybe with the amp, yeah, because you can build onto it, right? Like if you had one of the base stations or mobiles, and you had a couple of these guys, and you wanted more power for somebody who's further away, get the booster. And you can buy GMRS repeaters, by the way. Retivas make a really economical repeater that you hook up to a little solar panel, stick it up high somewhere, and build out your own GMRS network for not a lot of money. I want to say that the Retivas repeater for GMRS is somewhere around $400, maybe.
$399. Yep.
Yeah. So not too bad.
Getting loaded out for the weekend with the fam and the Land Cruiser, and I wanted to show you guys something, which is my new favorite product called Carnival. Carnival is top sirloin beef, chicken, and pork that's freeze-dried. I've tested and evaluated a lot of different food for camping and for preparedness, and this is my favorite. No antibiotics, artificial flavors, or preservatives, all natural meat as it should be. Check them out at carnivault.com. Later, guys.
So anyway, all of that aside, moving over to here. So these guys here will probably fry your brain. I've actually handed these to people, and they've said, don't you dare hit the PTT button anywhere near me. Same radio. This is the HYS. What's the model number up there, Mike? I can't remember the model number, but these are 25-watt handsets. And I've tested these with the SWR meter, and that's what they're getting. Yeah, so they don't even have a model number. It's just a HYS 25-watt, 16 channels. So they don't do all 22 FRS/GMRS channels. This Nagoya 771G performed the best, but the Abri wasn't too far behind. I kind of prefer the whips on the Nagoyas over the Abris, but the Abris are cheap, and you can take them and fold them up in any type of direction you want, and put a band around it, whatever the case may be. But we managed to get 7 miles with these guys because the increased wattage, once we put a good antenna on them. They're pretty Spartan though, because at 25 watts, they take a lot of juice to run. So there's no LED screen, none of the fancy bells and whistles that you would see on the Ocean ones over there. How much were these again? $209 a pair.
Yeah, not bad.
For what they are, I mean, we're kind of calling, these are like your must-haves, in our opinion. And these are nice to have. And most of the stuff over here is in, call it the economy range. So next after that, somebody turned me on to the Baofeng UV32, and in their opinion, they thought it was better than the Baofeng UV25. I disagree. I think the UV25 is a better radio. It's got a bigger battery, and it just worked better for us range-wise. We didn't quite get the same amount of range out of this one, but for $36.29, yeah, it's not a bad price, not terrible. But the next one cracks me up, Mike. This guy here, the model number is the AR152, AR-15, right?
Yeah,
AR-152, and they advertise these on Amazon as military grade. These are not military grade, just an FYI. It kind of looks like a Harris radio. It's not a $20,000 Harris radio, which you're not allowed to own anyway. It's got a little bit bigger battery because of the form factor. This is just a GMRS radio.
Show them it's the same as the other.
Yeah. So the guts on this guy are the same as this guy. This is a 3rd generation, the infamous Baofeng UV5R. And these are exactly the same, other than that's green, has a bigger battery on it. So don't be fooled by stuff that says online, oh, it's military grade. Mike, in all the radios we've tested more than what's out here. Have any of them come anywhere near what they say on the box?
No. The vegetation here and the flat surface makes it very difficult for us to punch through. So unless we have really tall antennas and have a repeater midway between that are 50-foot antennas, and Chris, as you mentioned, a 35-foot antenna is $300. You go to a 40 or 50-foot antenna, now it's $1,000 or $2,000.
Easily.
It ramps up really fast. So if you want to go and put up your own antennas, it's a lot of infrastructure that you have to put in. And I don't know that you're getting much bang for the buck. You and I had discussed doing that, and probably because of these other options, we're better off. And especially if we're going to be mobile. We have to move, and have change our location and you bug out, all those repeaters and all of those antennas are worthless because you're going to leave that area.
Yeah, I mean, if we were bugging out and we wanted wireless connectivity, like let's just assume
Talk about Convoy.
that
Yeah.
LTE has gone down. Okay, let's assume LTE has gone down. We could use those as FRS radios relatively close to each other. The problem is everybody and their dog has FRS radios, get the Walmart bubble radio sort of thing. If I had a choice using any of these handheld ones here, it's going to be the Motorola business class, because as we're rolling down the interstate as a group, nobody can listen in on our conversation, where we're going, where we're stopping for fuel. It's all on the hush hush. Now we're restricted to a 50-mile radius during normal times, but during emergencies, the FCC is pretty lenient as far as using any type of radio is concerned. For example, the SAD hams will tell you that you have to have an FCC technician's license. No, you don't. You need a license to communicate in non-emergency situations, but if it's an emergency, you do not require a license. Now, is it a good idea to get it? Yeah, I mean, no knowledge is bad knowledge, but there's some, let's say, purists who live in their mother's basements and have lived in their mother's basements for 50 or 60 years that will swear up, down, left, right, sideways that you're the devil if you own a ham radio without a license to go with it. I don't know if
But you have a license and you got a family license.
we
You've
have
for 10
we have
years.
licenses for all
So
this stuff here.
that being said, you have one.
Yeah, we have licenses for everything that's ours. Check out Not a Rubicon on YouTube. I've had him on our podcast. He's funny as all get out. He has no license. And technically, you're not allowed to do videos on ham radios unless you have a license.
Really?
So the SAD hams report him all the time because he likes to poke them
Yeah.
and stuff. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. You know, he doesn't care. But anyway, that's beside the point. He's a funny guy, though. His podcast is worth watching, by the way. It's really good if you're into radios. So anyway, with all that being said, if we had to have wireless, I'm going with the Motorola mobile and handheld. So if we were Convoy down the road, we got separated by even upwards of 10 miles. We know mobile to mobile that we can communicate. And we know if within a couple miles, even with the handhelds, we'd be able to communicate. But nobody would be able to listen in on what we were saying. But it's a little bit costlier. The equipment costs more. The license costs more. It's a little bit more money than, say, the GMRS is. And we've tested a bunch of ham radios and stuff as well. And most of the time, the range is no different without spending a lot of money on antennas and those sort of things.
Correct.
I will mention that you can boost a CB to go a long, long ways, but the limitations on it are so small that when you go buy it, it's not a matter of if they're going to show up at your door. They're going to show up at your door, and you're going to get a big fat fine out of it because it disrupts a bunch of other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But look up boosting CB radios illegally. You could get many hundreds of miles with them.
Really?
Yeah,
But they'll pick you up.
So
Don't do it.
So from we have two guys on our team that were former NSA,
Yeah.
and both of them were also comms experts in the Army, and they said as soon as you hit that PTT button on any radio, they can triangulate your position in a matter of seconds. And even if you don't have all the satellite, crazy technology NSA has, just an average guy can triangulate where you are, 10, 15 minutes sort of thing, based on where your frequency is coming from or your broadcast is coming from. Okay, so moving on to try and get this kind of wrapped up. If we were looking at economy stuff in this pile over here, UV25R, or sorry, UV25, not R, just UV25 would be my recommendation. It's got a big battery, lasts a long time. I will give Baofeng credit for one thing. The batteries have never died on us, have they?
No.
Like they
No.
seem to run forever and a day.
Even if we don't charge them up before we start testing.
So actually, that's kind of funny. So this guy here, the third generation UV5R, which is called the F8HP, okay? I dug this out of a Faraday bag today. It's been sitting in the Faraday bag for I don't know how many years. I haven't charged it, and I don't know how many years. And I thought to myself, I guarantee it's going to have good battery because Baofeng do make good batteries. A little bit loud there. It's got over 3/4 of the battery.
Yep.
So
They hold their
hasn't been charged in years. Yeah.
charge well.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we'll wrap up on antennas here, Mike. So here's another Abri antenna. You have to pay attention to what frequencies the antenna are rated for, not just the connector on the end. So for example, this one here does not have a G on it, okay? And if it doesn't have a G, it means it's not tuned to GMRS. So if you took this antenna, and we've done this, and put it on those GMRS radios from Ocean over there, the performance is going to be terrible. But if you get one that is made for GMRS, like this 42-inch one is, then you'll see the performance is really quite good. And by the way, this thing is ginormous. Don't worry, I ain't going to hit you with it. You can afford to lose an eye. I mean, it's not as bad as people think it is. There's what the Abri looks like when you unfold. It's 42 inches. Maybe if I put it this way, you can see it a little bit better. But it's a beast of an antenna. Not the best when you're going through heavy brush, I'll say that much, which is why I had it folded over. But again, I prefer the whips, the Nagoyas myself. Now, talking business class licenses, 4 out of our 5 channels are UHF in basically the same ballparkish range as GMRS. So these 2 antennas here, this is the infamous Browning BR450. Did I get that right? Yeah. How much are these? Like 20-something bucks.
Yeah, they're very cheap.
These are
$28.99.
$28.99. Buy2aradios.com. We don't have an affiliate relationship with them. I will remind our audience of this, by the way. Most of the time, buy2aradios.com and Amazon are comparable. The odd time, Amazon's cheaper. I will pay more money to buy something from buy2aradios.com than Amazon any day, because I can call them and I can get a tech in North Carolina who speaks English, and they're super, super helpful people. So I'm not calling Amazon, getting somebody halfway around the world who doesn't know anything and doesn't care about the customer, really, to be quite frank.
The Nagoya antenna.
Yeah, so then the Nagoya here, and I think it's a 200C is the model. Remember, yeah, NMC 200C.
Yep.
So this Nagoya, very similar as far as the tuning's concerned to the Browning, but this antenna with one of those business class Motorola mobile radios kicked ass. Like we tried big antennas too. Like how big was the biggest one that you put on your truck?
That one was trying to think, how tall are these? These are 3 foot, so that was about 4.5 feet is what it was.
Yeah, it was a good size. He had to build a special way to mount it and everything.
Had to do a redneck mount.
Yep, he's a surgeon. He
He
made a mount for the antenna out of 2x4s on the back of his truck.
It worked. Antenna price for the Nagoya versus the other.
Yeah, so the Nagoya is $47.89. And again, if you can find this stuff on buy2aradios.com, that's the place to go. Support American companies, get great support. They stand behind everything that they do. They've never paid me 1 red cent. They don't give us any affiliate commissions, nothing like that. Occasionally they'll send us an Ocean handset to test, etc. But really decent guys. So what am I missing, Mike? I feel like I know what I'm missing at the bottom. So again, I'm not as smart as Mike is. I got some timers. It's kind of like Alzheimer's. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget. So I want to just quickly mention a couple things. We had Spectrum cable here for internet forever and a day. Every time there's a storm comes along, coverage would go down.
Oh yeah.
Do you have Ring doorbell by chance?
Nope. I have Eufy.
So we have a Ring doorbell, and Cindy's always getting notifications on things that are going on in the neighborhood. Right. And she gets a notification all the time that's like, it's raining out, and somebody's like, hey, is your Spectrum down? My Spectrum's down.
Yeah.
It's not high quality service at the end of the day.
No.
So we swap that out for MetroNet Gig-E fiber. But the problem with that is that it goes under our road to the electric pole on the other side, and then up the electric pole and out of the neighborhood. So still subject to trees coming down, electric poles going down. So we have Starlink for our backup. We got a discount last year because of Hurricane Helene, all of us here in Florida. So there was no congestion fee. I want to say we paid $399. The regular price was $499. And you can suspend and activate your service in a matter of seconds from the smartphone app. We pay for the higher speed and bandwidth. I think it's $165 a month. But you can also convert it to on the go, like the backpack one. So Starlink, in my opinion, is your best bet for SHTF backup for internet, which I have to have. Otherwise, I can't work. The other part, though, is the Starlink I'm mentioning, that's for internet service, but you can also go to T-Mobile, whether you're with them or not, and you can tack on a package for your phone to send data through the Starlink network. So it's not like your phone is, you know, an access point for all your other stuff to traverse the Starlink network. There are some limitations on the service, but if you're in the middle of nowhere or all the cell phone towers go down wherever you are, you can communicate over Starlink with your phone. I want to say it's like $15 a month. It's not much.
Can you suspend that or no?
I don't think so. I think
Okay, that one is not.
I think that's one of the things, you add it to your T-Mobile plan,
Okay.
and then you pay that monthly stipend. But again, like coming back to the Garmin's, you can suspend these guys anytime you want. You don't have to pay them monthly. It takes seconds to activate it with the app. We pay $12 a month for this one. I leave one of them on all the time for $12 a month on purpose, because the one time we had no signal when we were in the mountains, I don't know, I wouldn't have been able to turn it back on again because the app didn't have connectivity, right?
Right.
So I keep one always connected, but $12 a month, it's next to nothing. But Starlink internet service, yes, you can pause and resume, sort of thing. The one thing I will mention is that when you buy the small portable Starlink, it is what it is. You're paying whatever the monthly fee is. I think it's again $165 or so. The home one that we have, which is the mid-size one, you've seen it, it's yay big. You can pause and resume to your heart's content. You can move to whatever data package you want, but the second you take your home unit and you make it the roamer, meaning you can take it with you, you can't go back, and the prices are higher. You can't drop it down to say $120 a month, that sort of thing. It's a one-way street basically at the end of the day. Other than that, I think for now we've covered everything. Garmin InReach products, no affiliate relationship. We don't get paid by them. That is probably your best option to make sure you have communications during SHTF. But let's say the Chinese take some of our satellites out, then you'd want to go to something like shortwave, high frequency, which we're going to cover in the not too distant future. POC link. Give me your impressions of POC link. Actually, you know what, Mike? Let's wrap up this way. Impressions of the Garmin InReach Mini, first and foremost.
Good first choice. Good, relatively good budget price as well, and you can reach people pretty much anywhere in the United States. So it's not a vegetation issue. It's not topographical issues. And so I think as a first, with your 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none, that's a good one to have. Agreed.
POC link, once we got them configured properly and working.
Good as a cell phone, if not better.
Yeah, I like how you can do a group broadcast so everybody hears it at the same time.
Absolutely, rather than having to have it on your phone. And if the cell stuff is not working at 100%, you've got connectivity still.
Still use it, yeah. Business radios, I know you were a little disappointed that we didn't get the range that you wanted.
Correct.
But speak to the clarity difference.
It's much clearer than the other ones. And again, the private channel is a big plus, because I think when things get stupid, the other channels are going to get jammed, and we'll be able to talk easily.
They're going to get jammed, and then people can hear everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Which you don't want people knowing what your
marauders or looters or anybody else, we cannot have those.
The GMRS stuff from Ocean, pretty economical.
Decent. But again, just watch, your channels are going to get jammed. But you can, have your codes and go to a different channel periodically. And like you said, for the daily checks, different times and all, there's military type schedules for that.
Before I forget, I guaranteed there's going to be a keyboard commando telling our viewers down below in the comment section that they should get Mesh-tastic. So Mesh-tastic, pardon me, is based on LoRa, which is a low power mesh networking technology. We've worked with it. There's virtually no infrastructure across the country. There is in Gainesville because a guy who's very well off put a bunch of these repeaters, but they don't have a long distance, right? So we've used stuff that uses LoRa for communications, and you can put up like these weatherproof repeaters that have a solar thing on them. They don't have the range. Like if you're trying to communicate with somebody who's not on your property or very far from your property, LoRa is not going to do it. Mesh-tastic's not going to do it. You have to build out a whole network because it's a peer-to-peer mesh networking. So I just want to say that because what happens is people go out and buy it, and then they try to use it, and they find out that they're
no better than this.
Yeah, it's even worse. It doesn't even go as far as the GMRS. Yeah. And they find out they don't have connectivity, and they're pissed off because they don't realize you have to build a network of devices to mesh together. So that's the story on that. What about these guys? You didn't like the HYS-25s because you said it was going to melt our brains by pushing the PTT button.
We got, like you said, we got about eight miles out, or six to 8 miles, and that was pretty good. If that's all you're going to have, it's reasonable. But if you've got a base unit in your vehicle, you'll get better range that way. If you don't have the ability to do this, and these all plug into the cigarette lighter, so you can get power without a problem. But if you don't have that ability, or you already have a radio in there or something else, it's an option, and it's relatively inexpensive.
It's an option. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on the UV32. I honestly, I think the UV25 is the better choice. If you're on a budget and you're going to buy Baofeng, I would buy this over that UV32 any day of the week.
And this is more rugged than the little tiny ones. If
Much more rugged.
Drop those small ones, I don't know what's going to happen. We didn't do any drop tests.
Thoughts on this military grade Baofeng?
Yeah, forget it. Just big battery. But the little one over there is also a decent thing on a budget. You get a couple of those Baofengs, that's not bad.
What was the price on these again?
That was, which one was that again?
I know for a fact that I paid $20-something for these when I bought them. And this was 5 years ago or something.
And which one?
Baofeng FH. There it is, right there, last one. They're $45 now. Can you believe that?
Yeah, well, it's double
the price of what they were just a few short years ago.
But you could get 2 of those for $90 for less than $100 and get your.
If I'm doing that though, I'm getting 2 of these.
Yep.
Instead, it's a better quality. How many antennas have we tested, Mike?
Oh, like 6 or 8 at least. And then we even cut one down so that it tuned better. Remember that?
Well, and those, let's just be clear, that's GMRS antennas. That's not all the other antennas.
That's true.
So
that's true.
We've tested a plethora of them. Bang for the buck, the Brownie.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the real deal, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the high, UHF bands, like GMRS bands, you can't beat that Brownie BR450.
For the price, not at all.
No. And again, the Nagoya 200C we got because it does give us an edge on the business
Motorola.
classes where we got the bump out of that one.
Yep.
These guys, it's kind of slick that you can use a regular FRS radio. Like this is the same radio that the bubble radios are from Walmart. It's just made to clip onto your ear pros. So pretty slick that you can do that and bridge it with the POC link. I like the POC link because you get the group communications. I like it because you can bridge GMRS to LTE. I like it because you can do it worldwide.
Yep. If
you buy now for $399, you'll never pay for annual price.
Right.
Whereas if you don't buy it now, the radios are going from $399 a pair to $1,140 a pair. Plus. And then you're going to pay $29 to $65 a year for your SIM card.
Right.
You get all that included right now. So it's a heck of a deal for a backup. This would not be my primary means of communication, but for a backup, oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's it, Mike.
I think you covered them.
We'll be back in the not too distant future with some shortwave high frequency radios that can bounce off the ionosphere. As far as private individuals are concerned, it's the only thing you're going to get that has the potential to communicate around the globe under optimum weather conditions. The ionosphere charged, a very specific way. But when you hear somebody from America talking to somebody in Australia on a radio, that's shortwave high frequency. There are other options, but they're military. You can't buy them, or they're very high-end, cost prohibitive, and for things like airplanes, which, as you point out, they're up in the air. They've got a much greater, range.
Field of view. Yeah. And same thing with the marine radios.
On the water.
Except for curvature of the earth, you can get miles and miles. So we don't have any of that, and most of us are not going to get away on a boat or a plane.
Yeah. All right, well, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and probably after you watch this, we'll probably be back tomorrow with our regular Survival Dispatch News podcast, but between now and then, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and God bless America. The world is getting more dangerous and unpredictable every day. Your family's safety depends on how prepared you are. For just $7.99 a month or $74.99 a year with 2.5 months free, Survival Dispatch Guardian membership gives you powerful tools and resources to stay ready. When you join, you're automatically enrolled in the Survival Dispatch Emergency Notification System, and you'll get critical alerts fast. You'll also get an invite to our private, high-traffic signal chat where members and experts share breaking intel. Guardians receive all 37 of our Survival Dispatch Insider e-magazines normally $9.99 each, a $370 value, plus early access to our exclusive instructional videos before they go public. Join thousands of like-minded Americans who refuse to be caught off guard. Become a Survival Dispatch Guardian today at www.survivaldispatch.news/subscribe.